So the one thing I'd like about this game is that different enemies and different scenarios will force you to attempt different things. The problem is like you basically need to get a bachelor's degree in this system to know all the options available to you.
Well, there's a handy little cheat chart.
Yeah,
It's got some of them on it.
it helps. And then there's some things which are kind of odd. So it's like if you fire with a weapon in melee, right? You have a
Hmm.
-20. But because you're so close, you have a +30. So overall it's just a bonus of 10 overall.
Hmm. Hmm.
So but like none of that is explained. It's like it's spread out over several pages.
Right, you're just supposed to go and find all the puzzle pieces and put them together.
Exactly. So, for example, usually in these games, we just run it to where if you just want to drop a grenade, like so long as you had that grenade ready,
Hmm.
if you just want to drop it at your feet, you don't have to make a roll for it. Like if you just want to drop it over as a defensive work, you don't have to roll for it because your gravity should take care of that for you.
Hmm. Hmm.
But so there's a lot of gamesmanship that goes into it.
Yeah, and I definitely know from when we were doing like the Warhammer tabletops, like the fantasy ones, uh, you do want to strategize at least a little bit. It is still very much a tabletop war game in RPG form, which a
Yeah.
lot of them are. So, you just got to plan.
Yeah. Yep. The hardest part about it is that when you're playing the tabletop, it's you controlling an army, and when you're playing the RPG, it's you with four other knuckleheads trying to figure out how to work with one another.
Yeah.
So the best thing is to think of a strategy and like talk about it ahead of time. Like, hey, if I do these things, it'll set you up for this. Then when it actually
Mhm.
comes to it, hopefully they remember that. Hey, if I set up this Telekine dome, technically we can fire from cover without having to worry about taking incoming fire.
I want to get that one, by the way, if I survive.
Yeah, it's
Also, hey,
super
Dapper, how's
useful.
it going?
Glad to see you made
Oh,
it.
what's up?
What? What'd you say, Dapper?
Oh, I just said what's up,
Oh, okay, yeah.
but I was
We've
muted when I
just been
said
trying
the
to fill
first time.
time while
So
waiting. We're talking about like suppression in Overwatch. Like you got like the heavy gun, so you're more set up to do suppression, I think, in some way, or at least that's how it feels. I think.
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking in my head too.
Hmm. Hmm.
After that first combat, then I was kind of like, oh yeah, I would be more kind of suppressive fire guy.
Hmm. Hmm. And then we would have the sharpshooter take things out, or the mechanicus because they're incredible.
Pretty good at it.
All right. Meanwhile, I guess we are all here. Actually, is Arcloid here? Okay, okay, just making sure. Then in that case, why don't we get started?
Okie doke.
Let me go ahead and.
Also, just for my own records, who here still has their comrade? Has anybody lost their comrade other than Jort?
I definitely still have mine.
R.I.P. my comrade.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, before we get started, why don't you just roll me a D100 real quick?
61.
Nice. What could go wrong?
Nothing.
There's no reason to be concerned about any of that, honestly.
Oh yeah, it's just a number.
All right.
Like most things.
Mm-hmm. So,
Okay. I've clicked a lot of buttons. So,
right.
who would like to do the recap?
Sure. I'll go ahead and do a recap because I'm always the recap person anyway.
It does
Uh,
seem to be what you're best at.
it's my destiny, really. So we actually started the battle for the tank deep inside the crater. Alexander tried desperately to repair the tank while we tried to defend it against the oncoming hordes of orcs. We set up a small bit of suppression and started realizing that the rocket grunts were slightly more dangerous than the big threatening orcs at first. Our sniper took them out in short order, one at a time. Uh, I used some of my psychic powers to have them attack each other, sometimes to explosive results. And we continued fighting until they started descending into the pit, swarming us slowly. But just as it seemed as if we were about to be clear of them, a set of rocket orcs all jumped in and started swarming the tank, along with the Mega Knob, who was shortly nearby with the Power Claw ready to rip the tank apart. Very desperately, we managed to fend them all off and get the tank out of the crater and drive away, unfortunately without the Psyker, who was lost in time and space for a whole minute.
Oh yeah.
And that's about where we left off, where the lines were closing or opening, or everyone just getting back home safely.
Oh,
Or at least to the
Jort lost
line.
his pinky finger because he wants commendations now. So
Purple Heart, right here. Stubbed toe in line of duty.
well, I mean, I charged those storm boys with my
Yeah.
gun, and then they beat my
Yeah,
ass.
right in
But
front of the commissar.
that was the whole point.
Hmm. Yeah, if nothing else, every single time Jort gets up, he ends up doing something heroic, whether he intended to or not.
That time was intended, but every other time it's just like, oh, I guess I did it, you guys.
Hmm, hmm.
Success doesn't detract from the heroism. So,
Exactly.
all right. Well, as you settle down into this, quickly deteriorating situation, the Aegis of Gildan, the super heavy tank, has managed to force its way out of uh, the crater and is pushing forward towards the occupied lines that are currently under pretty constant and severe threat from the Orcish hordes. And as it crests the lip and begins driving away, Scipio, you pop back into existence at the bottom of this crater.
Right. And given that it's already crested away by the time I came back, because it was like a good 30 seconds to
Oh
drive
yeah.
away. I believe last time I declared that uh, I remembered that there were sapping tunnels here, and there was definitely an entrance that I went in to go hide from artillery.
That is very true. As the artillery rained down, fortunately, everyone on and within the tank, you don't have to worry about the artillery barrage as you're pretty well insulated. But yeah, you descend into the sapping tunnels, which I would have. You don't have any means of illumination, do you, in your standard kit?
Good question. I would think the standard kit ought to have something. I
You would
got a
think
data
that.
slate, maybe that produces light. We got a basic toolkit, which may or may not have light. We got a grooming kit, which probably doesn't.
You should have
Oh,
illuminator.
rechargeable lamp pack.
There you go.
Yeah, it does exist.
So yeah, you pull out the lamp pack and you're like, all right, and it's actually about yay big, just a little rectangle. You slide the little thing over it, and the light turns on as you shine it around.
Hmm.
And what you can tell is that this tunnel has been pretty well demolished. And as you're looking at it, you think that you could probably push your way through and hopefully move onwards, but with all of the damage that these tunnels have taken, it's going to be pretty much you crawling or at least hunched over the majority of the route. So
Hmm.
you wouldn't be able to really have much other than whatever is in your hands. So, but as a
Gotcha.
hiker, you don't really have to worry about that too much. You'd have to drag your rifle behind you.
Yup. I guess the real question is, am I deep enough to be safe without having to crawl in deeper?
Oh, from artillery fire?
Yeah.
Sure, I will give you a bonus as we decide whether or not you get hit by artillery shells.
Oh boy, I do love bonuses.
All right, so pick a number 1 through 10, my friend.
You know what? I like 6 right now.
All right. As the artillery shells begin to streak in Actually, I think I should have this good to go.
Did I take any hits? I think I did. No, I'm still good.
Oh, I see the issue. But yeah, as the artillery begins to strike in, you can hear it landing outside of the crater. And Bigby, you can actually see as they just do this walking barrage, gradually working its way up, trying their very best to not overtake the Aegis of Gildan, the tank. Instead, it's just shattering through the orcs that are out in the open and exposed, forcing them to duck down into the cavern or into the trenches and craters themselves. So I'm gonna roll 5d10. And what number are you hoping doesn't get hit?
6.
They're all sixes.
And 22394.
As you climb in, you can hear this stuff striking all around you. For the most part, things seem to be pretty good. Roll me a willpower save as this little cave that you're in starts to shake and shudder from the impacts of the artillery shells above you.
Right.
Oh, and on top of that, oh, nice. Roll me
Wow.
awareness.
And awareness. That's going to be the harder one. If it's listening, we could add an additional 10, but I mean, that's still not great.
It is listening.
All right, so that's going to be minus 1.8 instead of minus 2.8.
Yeah, you cannot hear anything over the sounds of the artillery blasts.
Mm-hmm.
And one more time for good measure, as the cannons reload and they pummel the area once again. You also don't have any communications device on you, do you?
No, we covered that last time. I definitely don't.
Yeah.
Oh, there's 1 6 in there.
Dun dun dun.
Oh no, that sequence also has a 6 in it. It would have doomed me too.
That is our yeah, as a matter of fact, that is the frequency that you guys are tuned for your specific platoon, 8675309.
All right. So,
But as the artillery shells start slamming in, one whistle in particular gets particularly loud, and you see it slam right into the crater. Roll me a dodge as the point detonating fuse takes a few seconds before finally exploding in a hail of shrapnel and smoke.
all right. So, 2 things. First of all, would you allow me to be guarded for this?
Yeah. Since you basically do that all the time, I will
Mhm.
allow it. Also, keep in mind you have a 15-point bonus due to your cover.
Okay, so that means I'm starting out at positive 15 before we get started because I'm doing foreboding, by the
Oh,
way,
nice.
which is difficult. So it cancels out the guarded bonus, so I only have the cover bonus.
Perfect.
Now the next part is how far am I going to push that? And I'm going to say I'm pushing it to 5 because my life's on the line. So that's going to be an extra 25 points to that.
What could go
That would
wrong?
be 40. So 40 plus 36. I mean, this is pretty likely to work. I'm sure nothing bad could possibly happen.
Don't roll doubles. Well, you're pushing. Let's see.
Well, it does actually work, and 43 is not a double.
Nice. Now you pushed it though, correct?
Yes, so bad stuff still happens anyway.
All right, roll me the bad stuff real quick. Let me pull it up.
Right, and that's a percentile plus 10.
Oh yeah. So the
Pretty
push
sure.
psychic phenomenon. Yep, that's what it is. So it's 1d100 plus 10.
And we got the low end of it.
Oh, nice.
22.
Not bad at all. So, as you're clambering into this cavern, you can actually see just this foreboding vision of the artillery shell striking in as you, thinking it's all clear, step out, brush your pants off, only to get shredded by the shrapnel. So as you begin to pull yourself out, you push yourself right back in as the artillery hits right in the bottom. It detonates. You manage to get behind cover, so you're not going to take the full damage as you grab the orc corpses and you just roll back inside of this very what's the
Yeah,
way of
come here, big boy. I know you can take it. Ah, smells
this
terrible.
you should see what they smell like on the inside. Actually, you can because I think that one was ripped in half in the last fight.
He's still half cover.
There you go. What could go wrong? All right.
So how much does
Oh,
my meat shield absorb? Let's find out the damage.
it is 3d10 pen 5. So I'm just gonna roll it for you.
Oof.
Bear in mind you do have, since you succeeded on the dodge, I'm gonna give you an additional armor rating of 10. So add that to your regular armor.
Okay.
All right. So 27, and then what is that?
27, pen
So 3.
5.
Yep. But you take 13 of that because of your dodge.
Okay. So after the penetration, my armor soak value would be 7 plus 5, so 12. And you said 13 of that?
Yep. Yep.
All right, I come off with a small scrape. I've taken 1 damage.
Awesome. Roll me toughness as the concussive wave blows you backwards into the tunnel.
All right, that'll probably end up stunning me some. Oh no, I'm kind of fine. The orc absorbed most of the impact.
Fantastic. As this orc is shredded all around you, you sort of sit back up, like, all right then. And as this is going, you can actually hear the sounds of boots running up. As you sort of can see over the edge of the crater, you can see another line of infantry advancing across your terrain, clearly attempting to reinforce the defenders at the redoubt and like that the Aegis had gone towards.
Oh, good. That's perfect timing then. I managed to weather this storm. They're pushing up. I am going to go ahead and try to climb out of the crater at this point. Uh, I still technically have my companion. Oh, no, I guess he got on the tank. Yeah. It's okay. He wasn't helping out anyway. All he was going to do is shoot me.
Oh, I assumed you were referring to the sergeant that had teamed along. You do still have your comrade.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
But yeah, the person whose job it is to keep him in line is nowhere near him.
Yep. However, I am, like I said, if they're pushing up and it seems like it's mostly clear, now's probably the time to push up and get back.
Bigby, you have basically been attached. You've effectively seen him already climbing out of this crater as you are running up along your tiny feet, trying to keep up with the rest of the soldiers in their mad dash across the enemy terrain.
Yeah, everybody else is jogging, and I'm running double time.
Oh yeah. You can see as the super heavy tank manages to get over the next layer of embattlements and actually get to the reinforced allied position in the middle of the battlefield. Everyone else, however, is having to deal with enemy artillery barrages as they attempt to cross the no man's land. There's just you kind of have to regret not wearing boots for your giant rattling feet just for the sheer fact that this entire area is just painted with the strewn body parts of what you presume to mostly be orcs, but one set of intestines looks relatively the same from animal to animal.
Yeah, not good footing.
But as you are running across the crater, you do glance down and you do see one particularly disheveled looking psyker in a pit full of bodies.
At this point, he's literally covered in viscera from the previous explosion.
You could a great man. Anybody gets that reference, I'll give you a cookie.
Unfortunately not.
What you
No
said.
cookie today. No cookie today.
Ernest P. Worrell.
Oh, Ernest.
Was
All
that
right.
when he saved Halloween, or when he went to prison?
One of
All
the
right.
two.
So you've managed to reconvene. You do see the Ratling is running by the crater, looks down, sees the Psyker. The Psyker, covered in orc goop, looks up, sees the Ratling as everybody else is advancing on. Are you going to attempt to navigate through the tunnels that were exposed by the crater, or do you want to go back up into the open area and try to dodge incoming orc missiles as you rush to get to safety?
Wait, Big V's in the crater now too?
Big B's running along the crater trying to keep up with that tank and the new
Yeah.
column of infantry.
Oh, okay. Well, I gotta try catching up to them, I think. So I will go ahead and risk it.
Oi, Longshanks, get your ass up here.
Wasn't made physical activity. This is what I
How the
studied
hell
for.
did you join this man's army?
When I get closer there, I'm going to have profanity. So yeah, so I'm going to attempt to dodge orc missiles. It's my
That's not
lucky
great.
number in there. Ah, no, it's not.
That's not great. All right, so that is a different number. As you start advancing across the fields, across the terrain, you notice that there are still orcs. Sort of, some are heavily injured, some have been hiding in craters, and as you are running, you're basically running through orc grenades, orc fire, as they all start to open up. So both of you, I think you're going to stick with 6. Orcloid, give me a number 1 through 10.
I'm gonna go for 10.
So 6 and 10. Alrighty then. The good news is, as you're running, most of the troops in front of you are the one getting lambasted. So there's not going to be as many D10s rolled as you watch during this entire charge. Just people getting gunned down left and right. Some are pulled underground by greenskins. Others are just caught by the incredibly inaccurate but surprisingly powerful sluggers that the orcs are utilizing. But
Let's see what we got here.
1 6, 2 6s, and a 10
Oh boy.
allow you to attempt to dodge either one. As as you're running by, you notice it's just like 3 people get gunned down completely by one crazy orc with a heavy machine gun.
Oh dear. Not what you want to see.
No. Dirt's kicking up all around you. The Ratling would dive for cover, but for the most part, oh dear.
Well, we should see if they hit first, because then we roll dodge, but maybe you're not going to do great if he does hit.
Oh, these are already. This isn't one person targeting you. This is just you trying to run through a hail of gunfire.
Ah, okay then. So I
So
ought to try to dodge as well.
indeed.
Alright, this time I'm not guarded and I don't have any cover, so I'm already starting at -10,
But
and
you, yeah, but
that,
you are allowed to dodge both of them, even if you don't have that stunned. Because these
okay,
are technically like 2 separate rounds.
so that case, going full power again, by the way, because my life's on the line. There's not much I can ruin. So that's going to be 1 failure, and I'm going to roll the second one right now, just so that we know.
You're rolling against a 0?
Am I? Wait.
I believe you put that bonus in wrong.
Oh, I get it. So it definitely messed up. I should have just been putting 15, not plus 15. I'll just hit it
Correct.
again so it's
Yeah.
correct.
Yep. There you
There
go.
we go. All right, so that first one
Nice.
actually
Almighty.
works. Second one, there we go. Once I have actual numbers, it suddenly works great.
There you go.
Those
All
are some
right.
good rolls on the other one too, so those would have been good anyway. As for the terrible things that happen,
Oh, have you
so
been pushing it this entire time?
yeah, the first time all my food spoiled. The second time we'll figure out here in a second. The third time, distorted reflections will appear everywhere in on reflective surfaces. So with 108, we're rolling on a higher chart now, which is just going
Oh
to be another
yeah.
percentile.
Ooh, this
80.
isn't gonna be good.
Oh,
Oh,
perils. That's
that is
not.
not good.
Cataclysmic blast as I am running away. Psyker overloads, arcing in great bolts of warp energy. Anyone within 1d10 meters, including the Psyker, takes a d10 energy damage with Pen 5. Psyker can't dodge this or stop attack with the field save. C196, huh? In addition, all of the Psyker's clothing and gear is destroyed, leaving him naked and smoking on the ground. The Psyker may not use further powers for 1d5 hours after the event.
Oh wow.
Roll me 1d10. Also, after you roll the 1d10, just describe this scene that's going on right here. As you are running through what is effectively a shooting gallery with random enemies popping up left and right, your allies being gunned down left and right, and you watch as you try and take in as much of the chaos of the warp to predict where everything's going. You see your death in a dozen different situations. You manage to dodge past, find the trails in reality that allow you to get by. But explain to
Every
me
now
how
and
all
then,
this happens.
every now and then I'm just seeing different images of my face in front of me dying horribly, exploding. I'm seeing bits of me disintegrate, and slowly the queue is just shifting over towards the ones where just everything of mine is disintegrated or destroyed, including me, until I find the one in between where my body isn't destroyed. I'm jumping straight through like a concrete window that's just in the middle of no man's land because there was a building there. And as I jump through it, as soon as I hit the other side, no one sees when it happens or how, but it just all suddenly gone, and I'm just left looking there like, what?
You look around. There's just scorched bones all around you. You don't know from who or from what.
And then I just look back at the window, and there's just my distorted reflection. Half of them are probably my death face. I'm just
Yeah,
like, all right, focus. Oh, I should have had an extra +10 on those rolls because psychic focus, but I don't have it anymore.
not anymore. Oh
It's
my! Oh my! No, the psychic focus is gone as well. So be sure to keep that in mind.
I have nothing but my own power now as I run naked across the battle.
Arcloid, you glance over and you see just like 2 or 3 of the guardsmen that were running near to Scipio just completely disintegrate. Like, as they're running, like their uniform and their gear is still there, as just the organic portion just turns to dust. They fall to the ground as their bones hit the ground. The bones shatter and crumble like charcoal that's been in a fire for too long.
Oh, right, everyone takes damage, by the way. Within
Yeah.
2
So
meters of me, so that's kind of just me, I guess, unless you think
yeah,
Bigby should also get hit.
I doubt it. If you're running through machine gun
Alright.
fire, chances are you're not all that
So
grouped
this
up.
is going to be 1d10 pen 5, and I guess I have no armor now.
So the good news is the pen doesn't really matter, so you're just taking 1d10 worth of damage.
2. Alright, so that's a little bit of a shock. My skin's kind of glowing a bit from the energy, but it's fine, it's fine.
What hair
It'll
you
cool
has
down.
is standing straight up.
Hair just like is full Super Saiyan right now.
But as you run, uh, some of the people that had traveled with you got stuck and bogged down in the fighting. But of the platoon worth of soldiers that accompanied you on this charge, 24 of them died. So there's
Oh,
that.
jeez.
So
Oh, that's what
you
the roll was for.
yeah, so you and 6 soldiers managed to make it to the fortifications that the Aegis had arrived at. Meanwhile, the rest of you managed to look back at what's left of this platoon, including the very naked Scipio. Also, I need to roll damage for our rattling friend who failed to dodge.
Oh, right, yeah, other stuff was happening too. Best of luck. At least you get armor.
Yeah.
Presumably. Watch me roll max. No, just 11. So you take 11 points of damage to your torso as one of the rounds impacts your chest. You like spin as it hits you in like the upper pectoral, and as you're spinning, you're grabbing onto the weapon. You're going, and you actually do run by the basically the gruesome corpse of your rattling friend who had gotten pulled out of his sentinel walker earlier.
Was that penetrating damage?
No, that is 0 pen, just 11 straight damage. So you
need to
should,
absorb some.
yeah, you should be able to have 3. What is it? Imperial Guard flak is 4, so at the bare minimum 4, and then whatever your toughness is, subtract that as well.
Yeah, it's a total of 7, so I take 4 damage.
All right, you take 4 points of damage, but other than that, both of you, relatively wounded, stagger across and dive into the trench lines. Yeah, it's 4 regularly and then 5 if you're getting hit by a grenade, but this is a person with a gun. A slug thrower, a DACA device.
And I don't imagine that should take you out.
No, you should be fine.
Yeah.
Did you get hit? Did you get hit in the last fight?
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he was purely on the sniper lines. He was perfectly fine.
Surprisingly, I think he did almost get killed, but he dodged it.
Oh yeah, from a opposing sniper.
Yep.
It's very good.
Can't out rattling a
Yeah,
rattling.
I have 8 wounds left, so I'm pretty good for now.
I want to say I'm like crit 3 right now.
Oh, Alexander asks if it wasn't +1 damage for A or +1 armor for AoE explosions.
The warp hates me so much. It just wants me to waste so much time. My gosh, I have no powers for 5 hours.
Yeah, you Oh dear. Oh dear. That could have gone better. As for the first time in a very, very long time, you find yourself completely cut off from the warp. It's actually kind of refreshing.
Oh gosh, this is what freedom feels like, huh? Oh, it feels like bullets coming at us still. Maybe. Oh, we're safe. That's right. We actually got to the trench, didn't we?
That's what they want you to think. But yeah, you managed
They
to.
tricked me the whole time.
It's gonna be a bit interesting to see how all this plays out. However, you do manage to get into the trench lines. The back portion is pretty sparsely guarded. There's a couple pairs of heavy weapons that are just firing into the orcish lines. For the most part, the orcs that are there are all bunkered down into makeshift little huddles thanks to the craters that are there. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to be particularly effective if they advance from out of the crater, but you are in a defensive works that is effectively surrounded by the enemy. So the good news is you've all managed to deliver the Aegis. The bad news is now you're stuck in the middle of the enemy army.
Oh, good.
No, Jordan crit 6.
Well, I don't suppose anyone happens to have a spare pair of pants. I don't think we're getting resupplied on that.
I mean, who wants pants, really?
You don't need them.
Solomon Grundy.
All I want
Yeah.
is a decent pair of pants.
Oh, ancient meme. Oh, that's good.
Jerk can get you a pair of cut-off jean shorts if you want.
I'll accept literally anything right now, Jort. I'll accept a sandwich to cover myself.
But they're like super short. They're like some Daisy Dukes.
It literally can't be worse than the uniform.
Wait, you actually do have those, though, don't you? Why does that sound familiar?
Oh, that was from like the first episode. That's when that's how I got my name.
That's right. Oh my goodness. Alrighty then. as you and the Ratling and your 6 friends are sort of ushered to your respective places, they do manage to, like, they look at you and they don't have any clothes available, but one of them hands you their wet weather poncho
Mhm.
that you can drape over your shoulders for the time being. And while you're
Yeah.
there, you manage to follow the billowing smoke from the engines of the Aegis. And as you're making your approach, you see the rest of the team being ushered out as the uh, commissar holds up a finger to his ear. He goes, "Understood. Congratulations to all of you. I'm not entirely sure why you're out of uniform, but I imagine we will get to that in the time being. The captain is expecting us. If you would follow me." And then Alexander's gun mechadendrite is saluting constantly. One of the other soldiers jogs up and leads you over back down to the trenches. And everybody roll me awareness real quick.
All right. I still don't have ears. They're still kind of ringing, and so is everyone else's.
Nice.
Does anyone have
You can-
awareness hearing?
Heightened senses,
Because you
sound.
could still fail.
Oh dear. But
I
as
have heightened
you,
sense of
after
what?
after all of this, you start walking by, and you notice that this place is particularly disheveled. And but that's about it. You see some strange like piles of what looks like wooden bone that's on fire. You're not really sure what
Mhm.
that's about, but you get dropped down to the trenches, and the entire time you're here, you can hear the whizzing of bullets just sailing overhead. Some of them slam into the fortifications. A lot of the sandbags have been ruptured due to impact. And as you're walking by, you do see alongside one of the walls just this massive, like three-fingered clawing that just goes for a good 6 feet down the wall. And
Oh,
they
that
lead
must
you
be one of those power claws.
They lead you past the ammo dump, and the other thing you notice that there are just piles of bodies. They're not even particularly they're not even particularly covered. They're literally just their gear is stripped and the bodies have been thrown over into one central area. And as you make your way down, eventually you find yourself in the commander's tent. There we go. I believe you can all
Alright.
see it right now.
Yeah, right here.
Oh. As you get in there, you immediately recognize both Captain Dwyer as well as Lieutenant Harper. The yeah, the captain immediately salutes back. He goes, "At ease. You've earned a rest, I think." And as he starts to talk, he stops as the main guns from the Aegis of Gildan just open up and just deafen the entire area as they start chewing through ammunition. After a brief pause, he goes, "Engine seer, Alexander, correct? What's the status of our new war machine? Is it still operational? From what I can tell, the guns are working. Is there any substantial damage I need to know of?" And while this is going on, Lieutenant Harper steps off with Sergeant Jones, and Sergeant Jones is just glaring at Scipio.
I'm just standing proud and not saying a single thing right now.
The,
I
the
know
captain
I'm in thin ice as it is.
the captain also glances over and sort of does like one of these like looking at your overall wardrobe before going back. And
Mhm.
goes back to the engine seer. "I wish I could tell you that we had time for you to work on some of the structural repairs, but we're just going to have to get by with what we have. I'm not sure if any of you managed to take a good look at our new home, but it has not aged well since the greenskin occupation." And you can already see that there's a number of soldiers operating computer devices around this area. Some of them seem like they know what they're doing. One of them is just constantly just slapping the side of it, getting increasingly frustrated. Alexander, you glance over immediately, seeing him mishandling this piece of machinery. But it's clear that this isn't just. Oh yeah, you go over there.
Alexander just goes over there. It's like, don't you ever come near me or my child ever again.
As you go there to work on this cogitator, he pauses to look over at you and just sees the barrel of the ballistic mechadendrite and just sort of freezes as you walk up to it and you realize that the primary issue that he's having is that he has put in the wrong password too many times. It needs to go through a password reset. You go through the process. You reset the password. Do you want to reset it to anything specifically? You just reset it to password 1. And
No Orc will ever figure that out.
once you get in, just a stream of text goes by, and you see a very similar icon that you saw at the other base in regards to your new friend, the Inquisitor. You see the Inquisitorial seal briefly as it begins to just open up an entire file index.
Hmm.
But while that's going on, Captain DeWare goes, Lieutenant Harper and I have been trying to hold this place for the better part of a few days, with limited results. We weren't expecting their sappers to be so efficient, or, well, many. The entire network underneath us is riddled with tunnels. Orcs can pop up just about anywhere at any time, which is what they did to cut us off from our reinforcements. As it is, we have orders to hold this position until Allied air support can be brought in to, well, reduce the number of enemy combatants in the field. Now, we've managed to recover a number of the indirect, the mortar pits as well as the heavy mortars that were left over here. Surprisingly, the orcs seem to have little interest in stealing any of our supplies. It looks like many of the mortars were utilized for some sort of recreational sport. We're not entirely sure what it was, but they would tie a grot out into a field and then they would take turns throwing mortar shells at them. And you do vaguely recall, now that he mentions it, as you were passing, you did see a grot still tied to a stick outside.
I'm sure he'll be fine.
But DeWare continues on and goes,
Mhm.
The Aegis is the only reason we haven't been overrun so far. And if I'm being completely honest, the greenskins seem to be, if not abnormally lucky, more clever than we gave them credit. We are completely entrenched here. And rather than just wipe us out entirely, it seems as though they're attempting to keep us separated from the main host of our regiment. For what purposes, I can't surmise. Regardless, our orders are as follows. We need to divest this facility of all of the data that is stored within it. Before it was overrun, the PDF had been collecting information from the overrun city. From what I understand, most of what passes for intel on this horde and their leader, orc known as the Tongue Taker, is stored within these databases. We've just had some difficulty accessing them. But once that's done, we're still obligated to hold this place until we can be reinforced. Now, the 3rd Armored Regiment is being brought up from the south, so we should have support here within the next few days. Hopefully, all the guns on the Aegis will keep the orcs at bay for that amount of time. Sadly, we're in a bit of a waiting situation. What few medics we had haven't made it, and well, from what I can tell from your dossiers and your records, I don't believe any of you are particularly familiar with Medicaid. So whatever
You
casualties
would
we
be
do
incorrect,
take,
sir. Sorry to interrupt, but I am trained.
in actual Medicaid, not witchcraft that happens to knit things back together.
I had to do something for my minor, sir.
An educated man. Now I really hate you.
I thought you meant like you're like digging miners or something for a second. I'm like, miners? What?
Yeah, I was hoping we'll get across in context. I would suggest it would be the best use for me for the next few hours, until such time I am as much of a psyker as you are.
What do you mean? And am I to understand that that's the reason for your current state of undress?
That would also be correct, sir.
Sergeant, Sergeant Jones, I was to understand that you weren't supposed to let this asset to the Imperium out of your sight. Yet I can't help but notice that you arrived at very different times. So much so that our psyker friend here, even if he isn't capable at the moment, had to run through no man's land. An act which took the lives of, what, 24 of our platoon? At this rate, Sergeant Harper only has you folks left. Sorry, Lieutenant Harper. You see, Lieutenant Harper, it's actually Lieutenant, sir, to which the captain goes, not if you keep this up. And barring the entire explanation of the difference between commissioned officers and non-commissioned officers, he
Mhm.
looks over and goes, Lieutenant Harper will show you, Scipio, to our current triage center. It's not pretty, and for the most part, we have to deal with the medical supplies that were brought with us. Engineer, if you could be so kind as to, and then he looks over to you, like opening the file, and he goes, "Oh, well done. That's fantastic. If you could get that done for the remaining consoles, we could potentially have enough of an incentive for command to send us reinforcements of sufficient quality to get us out of here." But he goes, "As for the rest of you, I'm not gonna have you waste any more. You're gonna need 3 more rolls, and it's gonna be increasing levels of difficulty. So you're gonna have a 10-point penalty, then a 20-point penalty, then a 30-point penalty. But that shouldn't mean much to you. But as you just see the tech priest, without even responding, just about faces and just pushes over one of the soldiers and immediately starts hacking away at the computer. And there's actually been a until he gets to the last one. The first 2 are a breeze. Pretty rudimentary encryption, cracked, opened, sets the the little soldier back at the console. But when he finally gets to the last one, Alexander looks at it for a few seconds. He types it, and the entire thing just goes and shuts down. He spends the next several hours trying to figure out why. Especially as the captain glances over and goes, "Do you know how much longer?" As in the middle of the sad sentence, Alexander starts lighting incense and rubbing the console with sacred unguents, and the captain just immediately goes quiet. It's going to be a while before he can get this one operational. But he looks at the Commissar Hartley and the rest of you and goes, "There's no point in putting you out on the front lines and having you waste your ammunition. The front lines are already well guarded. I'm going to require you to perform tasks that your special skills will be of better use. Namely, we have 3 areas of importance. We have the Aegis of Gildan, which is chewing through more ammunition than I think is probably warranted. We have the mortar pits, which we can't afford to lose, even though, for the most part, their ammo stores were left, well, unmolested. We need that to funnel any approaching or cords into the, well, line of fire of our riflemen. And last but not least, there is the command tent itself. We can't afford to have this overrun. So I'll leave it up to you to decide where you think your assets are best spent, or if you'd like to abandon one and focus all your efforts on any of the others. In the meantime, he goes back and starts pulling up images on the tactical display that they have running. In the meantime, if any of you are particularly talented at, well, if any of you have any capacity for scouting, I would like to make sure that we don't have any trapdoors or tunnels that could be accessed to get behind our lines in the middle of our trenches. So, if any of you could go throughout the trenches and make sure they are secure, we don't have any nasty surprises waiting for us, that would be much obliged.
Sir, yes, sir.
All right. So at least two of us know exactly what our tasks are, and one of them is almost complete. So I guess what are you two going to do?
Yeah, Sergeant Jones, by the way, immediately ends up right beside you again, Scipio.
Yeah. Sergeant?
Well, Scipio, I have to admit I wasn't expecting to see you again. When you blinked out of existence, I figured that was it. Emperor finally called you home.
Well, if I died, things would be simple. But then you'd be paying the price for it. I don't think I'd like that.
Nah, I've gotten ass chewing before. I'll get it again.
Still, it cost everything just to get here. But at least I still have my hands, and those will suffice for the next couple hours.
You see you see Lieutenant Harper goes, Private York, oh, the cook. I don't have his name on here. I also don't have his tags. So he might be milling about. But if so, he's not in any of my records.
Everyone, we have to go on a mission to save Private York immediately. He's back at the same crater.
I'm sure he's fine.
All right.
But as he goes, by the way, Scipio, I'm gonna need you to tell me something only you would know about me. Because you
Only
just
you.
blinked out of existence and then blinked right back in your birthday suit. And you expect me to believe that that's normal.
You suggested I play chess with the other officers instead of yourself.
Yeah,
That's a
no,
shared
that's
moment between us.
alright.
I'll try not to disappear, but I guess just as a future note, anything that happens to me is likely to only be temporary.
Well, hopefully it stays that way because the only solutions I have are of a permanent nature.
Exactly.
But we got some injured folk you need to be looking out for. And we might be able to find you a pair of pants. So let's get to it, shall we?
Right, no longer heaving after that run. I'm as ready as I can be.
Alright, and he pulls you all the way over here.
Yeah, over to the medical
Ammo crate.
triage / ammo crates.
Yep. And as you can come in here, it's actually surprisingly tidy,
Mhm.
considering the orcs had the full run of the place. Meanwhile, Jort and Alexander's busy, so Jort and Bigby, as you're standing there, you see Lieutenant Harper goes, "Oh, by the way, I was informed that by Commissar Hartley that your friend, forget his name, I think he was trying to be a cook. He died reinforcing the metal of our fighting men. So I've seen to it to assign you a new comrade." And he goes, uh, Solomon, if you'd be so kind. And you look over and you see this remarkably old man. He's got his giant kit on, spindly legs, spindly arms. He has what little hair he has is gray, very gaunt features, and he sort of like walks in. He goes, uh, "Good to see you there. I'm Solomon. Uh, I'm Lieutenant said that you need somebody to hold on to your ammo for you. And, I've been doing this for a long time, so you know,
Uh, yeah, that's fine.
sorry to hear about what happened to your friends. Uh,
Well,
can you? I heard what happened though, so in the future, if you could just murder every motherfucker that isn't me, so I don't get murdered, that'd be fantastic. Because I did not get this old by acting like, a sniveling little bitch. Not that you are a sniveling little bitch. I'm just saying because you're acting like one, your friend died, and I don't want that to happen to me.
all right, Pappy, I'll try.
All right. And in that case, he sort of goes through all. He goes through all his. Sadly, I was not assigned any actual ammunition for your bolter. So if you got extra you want me to carry, I can do that. But as of right now, I've just got this here las gun and a number of rocks.
Oh shit! What kind of rocks?
Heavy ones. I put them in my pack. I do squats every day. You
All
gotta.
right.
Now, people keep telling me that what matters most in a guardsman is a willingness to hold the line, but I find that the ability to run real quick is also pretty fucking useful. So, anything I
That's
can
right.
do to keep these legs in shape, That's and he glances over and goes, but also holding the line is of utmost importance, and I would be glad to die for the glory of the Empire and our holy living God, the Emperor of mankind, Commissar Hartley. And Commissar Hartley is looking over at him and goes, perhaps you should be going and doing something useful.
Uh, all right.
What?
And I'll just like crawl out, bleeding from every orifice, over to the mortars.
Commissar Hartley basically follows you the entire time before passing you and ending up in the medic tent. All right, so
Good,
what
my first
are
patient.
yeah? So before we get to the Medicaid tests, which we
Yep.
are all going to enjoy, um,
We can see what these
what
guys are choosing.
what are Big B and Tabor going to do? Are you going to guard the mortar pits? Are you going to try and basically inspect all of the trench lines for any
It's-
shenanigans? Are you going to go set up Overwatch for the Aegis? What would you like?
Maybe he was in the scout the trench lines.
All right, roll me 3 awareness checks.
That's why I didn't go scouting.
Nice. Okay, not so nice.
That one made up for it.
All right, sweet. You begin your walkabout, and the one thing you notice is that this area is in fact in horrible state of disrepair. Uh, some of the trench lines have actually collapsed, with the ground starting to funnel in to where there's unintended ramps to the surface. You do actually see the grot tied to a stick. It looks like his legs have been broken by mortar shells that were chucked at him. Kind of a miserable. So he sort of looks up at you and he's not even like, he's not sad, he's not pleading, he's not angry. He's just empty as he just sort of looks over at you, watches you go, and drifts back down. But as you go through your inspection, uh, the other thing you notice that's a little bit more interesting is that there are a number of tunnels scattered about. Most of them are little more than deep foxholes as you explore them. However, as you explore some of the other ones, you also notice that etched in sort of like all around the trenches in various areas. You're looking at it, and it's not just that the orcs were tossing these mortar shells willy nilly as a form of sport. You actually notice that some of them have been booby trapped. And as you look, you look in, and like sure enough, you see that there is a mortar shell just sort of in the ground, but as you glance over to the side, you also notice that it's sitting on top of a hand grenade. So that if you were to pull the mortar off, the spoon on the hand grenade, no longer under pressure, would pop off, detonating both of them. And as you look around, you realize that because of the nature of the state of everything, nobody really looked too closely at the scattered munitions. The lieutenant had people gather them so far, but it doesn't seem as though they've encountered any of the booby-trapped ones as of
I
yet.
would assume that Bigby has some form of orange marker tape or something he could put on each of the traps he finds.
Sure. You go around and you mark the traps, and immediately, as you tell the sergeants go about to telling everybody not to touch the things with the orange marker traps, and then they realize that there's actually a few that have been built right into the very front of the fortifications. And as you go to inspect this one, roll me a tech use.